UAW President Shawn Fain just let them know that the company has gone back on its word and they need to make things right. Very frustrating, I'm sure, for the Mercedes workers if you voted against unionization on the belief that the boss was going to be really nice to you.
Which side are you on?
Mercedes. This is another story that I mentioned in last week in Southern Labor, but I wanted to, again, kind of expand on it a little bit because it's very important. Once we get into the second half of the program, we're going to take calls, 844-899-TVLR. That is 844-899-8857. Go ahead and call in if you want to, talk to us, ask a question, put in your 2 cents about any of these stories that we've been talking about. 844-899-8857. We'll take your calls at 11. So Mercedes, as we know, was able to beat back a union in their Vance, Alabama plant, in part by making a lot of promises to their employees. And it has not taken long at all for the company to start to falter on those promises. And actually, look, I have to say I'm kind of surprised that they're already walking back some of this stuff, because I just assumed that, I don't know, I actually thought that they were going to try to do a lot of this, or at least some of this stuff, so that they have plausible deniability about not doing some of the more extreme things. I thought they were going to, continue to try to improve because they had been making improvements at the Mercedes plant in Vance. They did a raise. They eliminated 2-tier employment. So I just assumed probably this is a trend that's going to continue, and the case is going to be for the UAW that they're going to have to make is that you could still get more if you unionized. But actually that doesn't seem to be what's happening, because in particular, and because they have already started saying, we're not really going to do that. Actually, that's not what we're going to do. And in particular, Chance Phillips in the Alabama Political Reporter, he notes that employees tell him one of the primary concerns was holiday pay and time off for Independence Day. Before the election, workers were apparently told by management that they would also be able to take off July 5th and 6th, either by using vacation days or by taking no pay. But many workers reportedly believed that the new CEO, Federico Koklowski, I don't know, would make July 5th and 6th paid days off after the election concluded, right? So that's, and July 5th and 6th, they do like a shutdown or something every year, or at least this year, they've been anticipating a shutdown to kind of, to do something in the plant. Plants do this regularly. They have shutdowns and then they shut down the plant for a few days and then they come back. So many workers reportedly believed that the new CEO would make July 5th and 6th paid days off after the election concluded. But this change has failed to happen. But the company is attributing that change to the UAW, saying, so that's what they're saying right now, and they're saying that because Mercedes is saying that we're in status quo because the UAW has filed challenges against the election. The UAW, as you know, is alleging that Mercedes has violated the law with respect to, labor relations and the National Labor Relations Act and having free and fair elections. The UAW is saying, you violated the law. We need to do another election because this was not free nor fair, so we need to do another one. And so management at Mercedes is saying because of these complaints, we are in status quo and we can't change anything, actually, despite the fact that they made multiple changes to employment over the course of the election, as has been previously reported on this and many other platforms.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
So Fain is combating this lie by Mercedes, saying that management is telling workers that they are unable to follow through on promised increases to wages, benefits, and working conditions because the UAW filed objections to the last month's election. He specifically stated that Rolf Rona, an MBUSI vice president of human resources, quote, told several group leaders that MBUSI could not pay workers for an upcoming plant shutdown because they were still in, quote, status quo. Shawn Fain dispels this myth about status quo in a letter that he wrote to the German unions to make sure that they knew that Mercedes is the one that is, that is doing this. It's not because of the law, trying to set the record straight, telling the German unions to try to get the Mercedes to try to not rely on this as an excuse. Fain explains in the letter, status quo refers to a specific legal standard in U.S. labor law that requires unionized employers to notify the union prior to making any changes to wages, benefits, or working conditions and bargain with the union over any proposed changes to implementation. However, MBUSI is currently not unionized, so no status quo condition exists. So that's the issue that Mercedes workers are facing now. Mercedes is lying about what they can and can't do under labor law. Shawn Fain is trying to set the record straight. In a note to Mercedes workers from the UAW, to Mercedes workers directly from the UAW, they say, "We thought Mercedes would wait a little longer before breaking their promise to make things better." I did too, honestly. This is surprising to me. We're only a couple weeks out. Back to the UAW message. "But they're already refusing to raise our pay and make their improvements, and they're trying to blame it on our union. Here's the real deal. Our charges against Mercedes do not stop the company from raising our pay. There is no law that blocks them from making improvements while we're fighting for a free and fair election. There is no law that stops them from paying us for the July shutdown rather than force us to take vacation or go without pay. MBUSI told some workers that the company couldn't pay us during the shutdown because they're in, quote, status quo. But status quo is a legal standard that only protects unionized workers by requiring management to give them notice and opportunity to bargain. But before any changes go into effect, we voted against unionizing, so status quo does not exist at MBUSI, and management is free to do whatever they want with or without our input. For the next year, we're riding with RICO." That's one of the things that the pro-management side, one of their slogans during the election, because Federico is the new CEO. So they're riding with RICO instead of the UAW. So for the next year, the UAW says we're riding with RICO, and without a union, we're just along for the ride. He steers the car and hits the brakes whenever he feels like it. Fortunately, union workers in Mercedes around the world are standing with us. UAW President Shawn Fain just let them know that the company has gone back on its word, and they need to make things right. They also linked to Shawn Fain's letter to the German workers. So that's where things stand with Mercedes in Alabama. Very frustrating, I'm sure, for the Mercedes workers, particularly if you voted against unionization on the belief that the boss was going to be really nice to you. Hopefully, if nothing else, this is educational for the ultimate next election, because one way or another, I'm sure that there's going to be another union election at Mercedes, and hopefully folks remember this, because this is kind of what happens when you trust the boss and you don't allow yourself any mechanism with which to hold them to account, and that's what happens when you don't have a union. You have no say. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.